Hey, good late afternoon, everybody. This is Tim O here. Hope you had a nice day. I sure did. I got to get up this morning, which is always a blessing. And I went out there early, and it was just the quiet of the morning. I mean, I don't know if you can hear it, but my street gets kind of busy. It's like it's kind of weird. It's like the city's like right here, and then in the backyard, it's like the country. You can't hear anything. But this morning it was nice and quiet out there. It was just turning from night into day, and I was putting out all the flowers that I've grown, and I got a big wall out there, and I put them along the wall, and the neighbors love that. They come by, and I see them stopping and looking at them, or if I'm out there watering or something, they'll say, thank you for making the neighborhood look beautiful. And this is a beautiful neighborhood. It's kind of ritzy. We're not, but it is. We're like in a California ranch surrounded by mansions. But it's good. It's good. I never really had a green thumb with gardening or any of that stuff, but I never really lived in a place where I could do stuff like that, and I took a chance on it, and you know what? It worked, and I love doing it. It brings me peace, and especially in the morning hour when you're just out there watering or whatever, it's just that time I get to center myself for myself, And today I just wanted to talk about the things that we can control. Excuse me, and because we hear a lot about what we can't control. We can't control death. We can't control other people's actions or what they say. We can't control if they like us or dislike us. That's just and we can obsess over that and drive ourselves crazy. But when you come right down to it, I got to let that stuff go. Because if somebody doesn't like me, then that ain't my fault. That's their stuff. Sometimes people dislike others because they may see something in me that they are troubled with, but they can't look at themselves, or they just don't like me, and that's fine, man. I'm not out here to I don't do these videos to be some kind of celebrity. I just started doing them a couple weeks ago, so they're raw, and I know that they're not chalked up to what maybe YouTube does. But I'm just an ordinary dude, man. Just living my ordinary life, which is astounding, because I lived a pretty dark life for many years. I mean, half of my life, and some of it was fun, and some of it was friggin' terrible. But now, I just live for the day. I don't know what's I can't control what's happening tomorrow, and what already passed I can't change. But in the moment, or for today, if I acted a little off kilter, or I said something to somebody, I can make today a better day. And I got tired of saying I'm sorry. Because when you're living in the drug and alcohol world, you're really not. You're just not, because you go out and you do the same thing. It's like every day is Groundhog Day. But so I don't have to keep saying I'm sorry for things. I just live a different way, and you can be a power of example just by acting and doing things, not just saying them and then doing the same thing over, So, but what I can be, what I can control is, I can be accountable for my actions, like I just said, and I can, if I say something to, say, Carol, or I say something to my son, and listen, we're only human beings. We make mistakes. It's just the bottom line. We do. But, I'm not too, I would, just to be up on somebody, I wouldn't apologize. And that took effect in my head, because I don't want to be an asshole. I don't want to be a jerk. And now I can say, hey, listen, I'm sorry. Because I'm not always right. Just because I'm clean and sober, what the hell does that mean? That means that I don't destroy myself, but I still make mistakes, and I still have personality defects and defects in general, but I try to work on them, and I don't try to keep repeating the same things. And if I do, then I got to look at that as a pattern and maybe change that pattern, So, I don't like pointing, fingers at everybody, being judgmental. Who the hell am I? If everybody judged me and pointed fingers at me, I'd have nobody. I wasn't the nicest guy. I wasn't the worst guy. And I don't consider myself a bad guy. I had a bad problem. And people that are caught up in addiction of any kind, gambling, sex, you name it, they act out. Just like we act out when we sober and clean up. We get our shit together and we try not to do that stuff. But when you're in the game, like I hear a lot of people saying, I was a terrible father, I was a terrible human being, I was a terrible husband, I was a terrible this, I was a terrible that. Listen, when you're caught up in that circle of decadence and destroying yourself, if you can't even help yourself or talk about yourself in a good light, then how are you supposed to talk about other people? How are you supposed to love unconditionally? How are you supposed to be this perfect? Because your life is off kilter. And when you're off, well, you're off. And things happen. And when you're in that game, this sort of stuff happens. Because when you clean up and sober up, you don't do those things. And if you do, then maybe it's just, the drugs and alcohol brought it to an extreme. But hey, listen, some of us can be assholes. Some of us can be mean people, dry drunks, and not, try to help yourself, maybe do some steps, look at these patterns that you go down. So, there's many things that we can control. I control the people that I have in my life. Some people I had to let go, and some people just faded away. When you get sober up, when you sober up, and you hung around with a certain clientele of people, they don't want to be around the sober guy. Just like I don't want to be sitting in a bar, drinking O'Doul's and talking crap. I just don't want to do it. And it's nothing that I look at those people as there's something other than me. No, it's just, why would I go to a bar and sit there all day, whether it's to watch a game or watch whatever? Why would I do that to myself? I'm an alcoholic. If I'm going to be sitting around that stuff all day, I'm just playing with my life. I'm playing Russian roulette. And sooner or later, I've seen it 100 times before. It's happened with me. I'll go there and I'll drink O'Doul's. And everyone all day is drinking and smoking and doing things in the bathroom and all this stuff. And next thing you know, it's like, hey, give me one. And it's not that I'm weak. It's just I'm putting myself in an atmosphere that I shouldn't be. That's the bottom line, And I like this normal life. I never thought I could. When I got sober and cleaned up, I was like, I don't know who I'm going to be. And for a little while, the change was so drastic, and I relapsed a few times. I didn't get this on the first time. I didn't get it on the second, third, fourth. There was times when I didn't want to drink and I didn't want to drug, and as soon as somebody came in the house or as soon as the time struck that I could go and get some, I'd do it. And I didn't want to do it, but that's addiction. I didn't want to be a lousy person. I didn't want to be, a husband that could have been better. I didn't want to be a father that looked down on himself. But when you're in that circle and you're in that game, this stuff happens. This stuff, I hear it from, I've been to thousands of meetings. I still am a meeting maker. I like going to them. It is a social thing for me. I hear people say it's not a it's not a social thing. Of course it's a social thing. It's where I meet people. It's where I talk to my friends. It's where I hear, the message that I need to hear, where I hear certain things that I haven't heard before, and I'm like, man, I can incorporate that into my life. But, I go to these things because I don't want to be the person that I once was. I don't want to be some stubborn rockhead that just, doesn't have an open mind, doesn't listen, thinks it's all about me. And listen, I made some really good decisions in my life, and I stand by them to this day, but I made some real lousy ones. And the thing about it is, that was by my own will. I can point fingers and say it was this one, it was that one, but it was me. I made the choice. So, like the old Beretta song, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. And the thing about it is, I made some decisions that when I look back now as an older gentleman, I'm like, what was I thinking? But when you're young and you're caught up and you're desperate, these things happen. And it's just, I can't change my past mistakes. I can't do it. What I can change is the person I am now, and be a power of example to my son, or a power of example to my girl, or to my sisters. My sisters grew up with me, and they knew what I was like, and they knew what my brother was like, and unfortunately Joe didn't make it. But the thing about it, I just had them over the house the other day to celebrate the 6 years that my mother has been gone. And I remember when I used to go to my sister's house, they didn't even want me in there because I was bringing in stuff. I had stuff in my pocket. I had stuff stuffed and bottles stuck in my thing. I'd pull up with a trunk full of booze. They didn't want that. My sisters don't drink. And if they do, they have one beer a year at Christmas. And I don't even think they do that. And now they come to my house. We have a little fire going. We're talking about old memories. We can go back and look at that stuff, but we don't have to stick and stay and get all caught up in it. So, the thing about it is, I look at myself in the mirror, and the thing I can change are the choices I make, the way I present myself, and the things that I do. Not everything that I say. I can say a million things, and if I'm clicking this thing to go off, and then I go out and I kick my cat down the hallway, or I'm out there screaming at some guy in traffic, then I'm just talking a bunch of crap. Surface stuff that comes off the surface. There's a deeper meaning to the things I believe in, and the things that I wish to communicate with, and the things that I like to bring from the heart, not from just the head. Because my head, I'm coming up on 10 years clean, I'm still screwed up. I can still say and do things that are off the wall, and I'm like 5 seconds after I say it, I'm trying to catch it in the air. Like, what? Why did I say that? It's not that I am damaged. Well, in some way, I guess. My buddy Bob used to say, Tim, you're damaged. Maybe I am. But the thing about it is, we make mistakes. But the thing I can control is say, listen, I'm sorry, and actually mean it. And try a little bit harder not to do it again. And if that's all I can do today, then that's a success story. So listen, I hope you had a good day. I hope you had a nice weekend. Memorial Day is a somber day. I know it's cookouts and beer and barbecues and all that stuff. But it's also, a day when the men and women of this world and our country fought, and some lived and carried on burdens the rest of their lives, and some died way too young. And it's good to honor people that gave us the freedom that we have, that fought so we could have this freedom. And I, for one, am very grateful for it. So have a good night. I'm going to be heading to a meeting with my buddy Tom, and I'm looking forward to shooting the breeze with him, having a coffee, and going and hear some good stuff from some men that are doing stuff for themselves. That's a good thing. Have a great night, all. And this is Tim O, and always a pleasure to see you. Be well.